welcome to What's the Stitch, our virtual content series focusing on all things fiber arts. My name is Savannah, and today I'm going to be discussing left-handed knitting. Why? Because, well, I am left-handed, and I can tell you that learning to knit from a right-handed person was an absolute disaster. So, southpaws, don't despair. You can still get your craft on. Ready? Let's get stitching. Today I'll be covering casting on, the knit stitch. The craft as a whole is called knitting, but there's also a specific stitch with that name too, and binding off. For this project, you will need yarn, knitting needles, and scissors. I'm working with a bulky weight yarn, and my needles are 9-inch bamboo and a size 13. You can get needles made of wood, plastic, or aluminum, and length can vary anywhere from 9 to 14 inches. We start our project by casting on, which is a fancy way of saying adding on new stitches to your needle. So first I'm going to make a slip knot. So I make my loop, double it, put them together, and then pull through. Notice it's not too tight. I can still move it or make it bigger or smaller. Holding my needle in my right hand with my point facing away, I wrap my thumb around the yarn and bring my needle through the loop I made. See, now I have 2 loops on my needle. I keep going until I have the number of stitches that I need. Let's say 7 stitches. And my little yarn tail here, I'm just gonna hold out of the way, but we don't trim it. If you need to later weave in your ends for part of a bigger project. This is where we take our left-handed Albuquerque from traditional knitting. We're going to basically do a mirror image of what a right-handed knitter would do. If they start on the left, we start on the right, and so on. I hold the needle with my yarn loops in my right hand. My yarn I'm going to hold between my index and forefinger of my left hand. This gives me some nice control. Some people like to also wrap their yarn around their thumb. It's whatever feels comfortable and natural for you. So I'm going to bring my left needle, or the working needle because it's the one that's actually moving, behind my stitch, like so, to make a cross. And then I'm going to wrap my yarn around my needle, also called throwing your yarn, in a counterclockwise motion. And then I'm going to bring my needle down through this gap that I've made in my yarn. And now my loop is on my left. And I'm just gonna slide it off my right needle. So that may sound kind of confusing. We're going to do it again. Back, around, down, out. Back, around, down, out. Notice as I go that I'm not having to force my yarn. At the very least, just give it a little bit of a nudge with my finger to move it off the needle. If you're struggling with getting your yarn off your needle, it may be that your tension is too tight. And so what you can do for that is just kind of wiggle your stitches on your needle, or give yourself some more yarn on your skein for more slack. So here we go, my stitches are now on my left needle, and I just keep going. So here we have several rows of knit stitches, and we can tell that they are knit stitches. When we look at them, you'll see they look like little V's. And the back is little bumps. When you finish your project, you're ready to cast off or bind off so that your project does not unravel. Starting on a new row, you're going to knit 2 stitches onto your left needle. Like so. We bypass the second stitch and insert our right needle into the first stitch, and we'll draw it over. This is called passing over, like so. So now I just have the 1 stitch on my left needle, and I'm going to do the same. 2 stitches, pass over, and pull it through. Two stitches, pass over, and pull it through. Stitches, pass over, pull it through, and you can see my bound edge is starting to form. Okay, so here we go. We have our last loop here at the very end. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it really big, like so. And then I'm gonna trim off about 4 to 6 inches on my yarn. And I'm gonna loop it through. So now it's bound off on both sides. You don't have to worry about all of your hard work unraveling. So there you have it. With the techniques of casting on, the knit stitch, and binding off, you can complete basic projects such as blankets or scarves. I hope you'll join us for part 2 of this series as we tackle the other foundational stitch, purling, or opposite land from the knit stitch. If you're feeling inspired and want to learn more, check out some of the amazing knitting books in our collection, or practice with fellow fiber artists at our new adult program, Sit and Stitch, the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. at the Central Library. All skill levels welcome. See you next time. Happy stitching, everyone.